Well, good morning. Very happy Wednesday to everyone, and welcome to the John Quintero Show on YouTube. Very happy to have you today. We got a lot of different things to talk about today. We have one guest coming up close to the top of the hour, Jake Gilliam, former All-CIF basketball player at Torrey Pines High School, currently an assistant coach there, spent some time as a player at USD, and also the tournament chairman of the 34th annual Torrey Pines Holiday Classic. We're going to get everyone squared away on that when the tournament gets underway and some of the top players. I was looking at the history of that tournament, just amazing. Guys like Drew Holiday, Russell Westbrook have played in that tournament. Klay Thompson. We could go on. And I remember it started back in 1990. And I remember Brad Sesmet and I called it on Extra Sports 690. We called the championship game between St. Anthony's and St. Raymond's. And St. Anthony's had Danny Hurley, the coach of UConn, and they had a great forward that played at Kentucky and at USC, Roderick Rhodes, and they won the tournament over St. Raymond's in a marvelous basketball game. Danny Hurley was the tournament most valuable player, and they played it all but 1 year when they had COVID. But getting ready for the 34th annual Torrey Pines Holiday Classic. So Jake Gilliam going to join us right around 10 o'clock this morning. A lot to get to today. It really, we're kind of all over the place. I want to get you caught up in everything going on in the world of sports, and we're going to get into the Padres a little bit here in a few minutes. But again, I would ask you if you're tuning in for the first time, or maybe second or third time, and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the program, the channel. Would appreciate that. Like the show if you like it. And also, you can follow me on Facebook at John Quintero, and you can follow me on X at Coach Quintero 44. We'd very much appreciate that. Okay, last night, I had to attend a function for my granddaughter to watch her sing at a local church, St. John's up in Encinitas. And I got home and I turned on the bowl game. To be honest with you, I forgot about the NBA Cup in that championship. Congratulations to Milwaukee, taking down OKC. But I really wasn't all that interested, to be honest with you. But nonetheless, I forgot, or I'd have turned that on and watched the end of it. But anyways, I got home. I watched the bowl game that was on television, and Memphis beat West Virginia. But then I was watching on my phone. UC San Diego, Eric Olin's team, who had come into the game with a 9-2 record. They go into Logan, Utah, the D. Glenn Spectrum last night, and they take down previously undefeated Utah State in a marvelous basketball game, 75-73. I mean, that is such a big win for UC San Diego, a huge win. And they've had a couple of big wins this year. I mean, they played the Aztecs tough at Viejas, but they had a good win in their conference opener up at UC Santa Barbara. They've got a 2-0 record so far in the Big West. The team that win the Big West predicted to is UC Irvine, who won it a year ago. And they're a fantastic team by Russell Turner. But I'm going to tell you what, Eric Olin is an outstanding basketball coach. And I'm hoping this win will get more people to come out to the Lion Tree Arena. This is not really a surprise to me, folks. And I'm going to tell you why. I did their games last year. I did all their games last year. And they should have beat San Diego State if it weren't for Jaden Ledee having that putback basket basically at the buzzer. They should have won that game. But they won 21 games a year ago, and they were ineligible for postseason play because they were in the fourth and final year of the what they call probationary period, going from Division II to Division I. Well, they're eligible this year. They went down and they played down in that tournament down in Florida, and they went 3-0. And they beat some good teams. I mean, they beat LaSalle, who was undefeated at the time. They beat James Madison. They came back in the finals and blew out Toledo by 35. I mean, this is a legit basketball team. They got three seniors that know how to play. I mean, Aniwa Tate Jones, heck of a player. Tyler McGuy, great player. He was the sixth man of the year last year in the Big West Conference. And Aniwa Tate Jones was the newcomer of the year. And then they got their point guard, Hayden Gray, out of Santa Fe Christian, who's leading the nation in steals right now. I mean, they got a great team, great team. And that's a huge win. Now, we're going to find out a little bit more about Utah State. They actually come to Viejas on December 28th to take on the Aztecs. They're a good team. They were 10-0. And they got beat on their home court last night by UC San Diego. So UC San Diego now sitting at a nice 10-2. And they've got a game on Saturday night, local game against USD. Coach Lavin over at USD having a tough time. They've lost 4 in a row. They're 3-8. But USD will host UC San Diego on Saturday night, 6 o'clock at the Jenny Craig Pavilion. But congratulations to Eric Olin and his basketball team out there at UC San Diego. One hell of a game last night, taking down previously undefeated Utah State Aggies that were 10-0. All right, I got to get into the transfer portal. I was going to do this on Monday, but we had so many things coming off of the weekend, I never got to it. The transfer portal has become a complete and utter disaster. And I'm not going to get into every which way it's a disaster. It's just a disaster. Okay. The college football player, they have 2 windows. And we're going to talk about football right now. We're not going to get into the other sports, but college football players have 2 windows. The first one is the winter transfer portal window. It started on Monday, December 9th, and it runs until Saturday, December 28th. I mean, you talk about stupidity. Why would you have this coming off of the regular season, going into the bowl season? It's destroying bowls. It's absolutely destroying bowls. And I know why they do it, but I'm going to give you the other one, and then I'm going to come back to why they do it. And then they have the spring window, which opens on Wednesday, April 16th of 2025, and ends on Friday, April 25th, 2025. Athletes now can transfer multiple times without facing penalties as long as they maintain good academic standing. The thing that really got my goat was on Saturday. I'm getting ready to watch the Army-Navy game. And it comes down, I don't know, about 2 hours prior to kickoff there at Landover, Maryland, that Marshall withdrew from playing Army in the Independence Bowl because at least 25 players had entered their transfer portal. Their head coach had taken another job. He wasn't offered a contract at Marshall, even though they were bowl eligible and had a nice year. And he ended up taking another job. So all the players are bent out of shape. So 25 of them entered the portal. And they felt they couldn't compete against Army. Well, then, shortly after that, they replaced them with Louisiana Tech, 5-7. The bowl game will go on. Okay, now I want to go back to this. And this is an easy fix for me. It really is. But I don't know who's running college football right now. That's the problem. I have no idea who's running college football. And there's been talk about having a college football commissioner. Nick Saban's not taking the job, by the way. Okay, because he had to handle it with an iron fist. But here's the deal. You've got to make it to where guys can't enter the portal until after their team's bowl game. Now, if they want to quit the team and not play, great. Quit the team, be a quitter, and don't play. But you're not allowed to enter the portal until your team has finished their season. Okay? But really, the easy fix on this is to try to map out the athletic calendar for football and the academic calendar. And I know we're talking about some schools are on semesters, some are on quarters, but this can't go on. This just can't go on the way it is. It's ruining college football. It's just ruining college football. And the thing is, it isn't just like guys that are disgruntled. Wow, man, I'm not playing a whole lot. I'm transferring. You got star players transferring. And they're like guys that could be up for the Heisman Trophy next year. And they're looking to transfer. I mean, Quinn Ewers, the quarterback at Texas, I'm not a big fan. I don't really think he's all that good. Maybe you do if you've watched him. I don't think he's all that good. And there's talk that Oregon is offering him like $3 million to come back to college football for a 5th year and play. I mean, I'm just not a big fan. They got Arch Manning there, and there's been talk that he may transfer. We'll have to wait and see on that. But, I mean, Quinn Ewers, is a star at Texas, or considered a star. But when they lose, he's considered a bum. Maybe he wants to go to Oregon. Maybe he saw what happened for Dillon Gabriel, who transferred to 3 different schools before, he ended up becoming a finalist. Third school for Dillon Gabriel. But the transfer portal, it's just killing. And I'll give you an example. I'm all excited about the Holiday Bowl. I love going to the Holiday Bowl. I've made it a high percentage of the time. Every once in a while, a family commitment over the holidays, you have to miss it or whatever. But I've got a pretty good string going right now. And I'm looking forward to the Holiday Bowl. But I got to tell you, I'm really disappointed. I was disappointed on Monday when I heard John Mateer, that great quarterback for Washington State, enter the transfer portal. And what was interesting on that was it looked like he was going to enter it about 10 days ago. And then he decided to not enter it after a conversation with his coach. And then Monday, he decides to enter the transfer portal again. And then this morning, his coach Jake Dickert, hired at Wake Forest. So now Washington State, who's coming to the Holiday Bowl, that's 8-4, taking on Syracuse, who's 9-3. They're not going to have their starting quarterback. This guy was a fantastic player. I mean, thrown for over 3,000 yards, rushed for over 800 yards. I mean, he's one of the more dynamic, multi-purpose quarterbacks in America. And he's pulling out of the Holiday Bowl. And now the head coach, Jake Dickert, taking the job at Wake Forest. And so Syracuse will come in. By the way, for people that are going to the Holiday Bowl, I wanted to give you 4 kids, because one of them's not going to play. The one kid from San Diego that's on the Syracuse roster, junior defensive back, Barry Buxton from Olympian High School. He won't play. He's been out all year with an injury, but there's 4 local players on the Washington State roster. Dean Janikowski, who's a fantastic kicker from Cathedral. His brother's a freshman defensive end / edge rusher. Jack Janikowski, senior edge rusher Quinn Roth out of San Marcos, and Josh Meredith out of Mater Dei Catholic. So there's some local flavor in the DirecTV Holiday Bowl. But I got to tell you, man, this transfer portal, they got to get this under control. It's ruining college football. And you've got 12 teams. I mean, I'm looking forward to this weekend. Friday night, you got Indiana going in to take on Notre Dame. That'll be a great matchup. I think Indiana can beat Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame, for me, maybe be a little bit overrated. And I think we all have a tendency to overrate Notre Dame. We think of, all the great coaches they've had there, starting with Newt Rockne, a great era Parsegian, who had a great run, and over the year, Lou Holtz. But at the bottom line, I think Notre Dame year in and year out is probably a little bit overrated. I don't necessarily think their schedule's the most difficult out there for an independent team. I think they got a pretty good schedule. I want to get to the Padres, but man, and we're going to be talking a lot about the transfer portal. And if you've got any comments, did you see, by the way, before I jump into the Padres, Danny O'Neill, the quarterback for the Aztecs, took a deal. I don't know what he got NIL-wise, but he took a deal at Wisconsin. So he'll compete. Wisconsin lost like 3 quarterbacks, too. So it'll be interesting to see what Danny O'Neill's fortunes are at the University of Wisconsin. And again, if you got any comments, drop them in. Okay, we're going to get to the Padres here, and I got to be honest with you. It is crickets. It is crickets right now. Nothing going on, but you know what? That means AJ's laying the groundwork for a deal, I think. I thought a lot about this yesterday as I was getting prepared for the show. And I go, what am I going to talk about tomorrow about the Padres? Well, what I'm going to talk about right now is the same things we've been talking about now for a number of weeks. Padres need a left fielder. They need at least 1 catcher. And they probably need 2 starting pitchers. And maybe one of them will be Roki Sasaki. Roki Sasaki, what would that do for the Padre franchise? One of the comments his agent, Joel Wolf, made last week at the winter meetings was he wants to play for a winner. And I'm saying right now, and I said this on Monday when we had the podcast, Padres still have a window of opportunity here, but after this year, it may close and it may close very quickly. And what I mean by that, you got to have pitching. And if Sasaki came here, you were able to re-sign Michael King. You're going to have Yu Darvish. You're going to have Joe Musgrove the following year in 2026. And granted, Joe, I'm sure they'll have to handle him with kid gloves. He's not going to be able to go out there and throw 100 pitches right off the bat. They're going to have him probably either on a pitch count or an innings limit. But, you still got some viable starting pitching. And you have to come up, maybe with a fifth guy or a sixth guy. You need to have about 7 or 8 starters. I mean, look at some of these teams that have guys going down right and left. They have 7 or 8 starters. But you got to figure out what you're doing with your core lineup. And man, I'll tell you what. And I know that we talked about this guy before Jackson Merrill came on the scene, but Cody Bellinger gets traded yesterday from the Cubs to the New York Yankees. That is such a great get, in my opinion, for the Yankees. I mean, they gave up Cody Poteet, by the way, a San Diego guy, right-handed pitcher out of Christian High School out there in El Cajon. Really worked hard, got himself to the big leagues. Good arm. And he's like a bulldog out on the mound. But the Yankees send Poteet to the Cubs. Bellinger, along with $5 million, come to the Yankees. Now, here's Bellinger's contract. It's $27.5 million for 2025. There's a player option for $25 million in 2026, and if he turns that down, he'll get $5 million out the door. So that's basically where the $5 million went, was on a buyout. But getting Cody Bellinger, I love Bellinger. I think Bellinger, even though his swing is long and he can go through these prolonged I think he's a hell of a player. He can run, he can throw, he can play center field, he can play first base, got big time power. What do you think he's going to do in that short bandbox left field or right field at Yankee Stadium? I mean, being a pull hitter, and he'll go the other way, but he got a lot of ability. And you know what? Cody Bellinger's only 29 years old, man. It seems like he's been around forever. So losing Soto, and by the way, I think the Yankees at the end of the day, I think they're going to be happy they didn't win the Soto battle. Soto brings a lot of baggage, folks. He really does. I mean, he just brings a lot of baggage. And now that he's got his long-term contract, I'm anxious to see how his game fares. Now, there are one or two things with Soto. He could either really, play nice, free and easy and go out there and, put up massive numbers, or he could get fat and sassy and, hey, man, I got my deal. And just go about his business and do whatever he wants. But, it's going to be a challenge, I think, for the Mets to keep him well focused. I just think he brings a lot to the table. But getting back to the Padres, there's actually a rumor out there, and it doesn't really have much heat behind it, but maybe the Mets are looking at Dylan Cease. And if that's the case, the Padres would probably, I would imagine, go after about 3 prospects. Luis Angel Acuna, Ronald Acuna's brother, infielder. Guy swung the bat pretty well when he was up last year. He might be one of the guys involved in that trade. But again, that's just hearsay right now. But I thought I'd throw that out for you. I got to mention something about Rocket Dog. Rocket Dog is one of our great listeners. And I love Rocket Dog, and I love his moniker, Rocket Dog. But Rocket Dog, I think, took something the other day, and I don't want this to sound bad, Rocket Dog, but I don't think I was devaluing Luis Arraez. We talked about Arraez the other day, and we had talked about, Dylan Cease. I don't think the Padres can afford him, really. I mean, there's no way you're going to be able to afford King and Cease with everything we're hearing with the payroll. Payroll right now is at about 210, 211. And we hear the Padres want to get it down to 170. Well, you know what? You're gonna have to cut some pretty damn good players. You're gonna have to move some players. And one of them is probably going to be Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease would be the highest paid player of the guys that are going to be free agents after the 2025 season. And, probably 25 million, I'm thinking. He had a good year. He's going to get a nice bump. I don't know if it'll go to 25 this year, probably 20. I mean, heck, guys that can't even get anybody out now are getting 15. And Cease threw a no-hitter and had some good numbers. And so he's probably going to get 20 in arbitration, last year of arbitration eligibility. And then you got Luis Arraez. Now, here's what I said about Arraez the other day. And Rocket Dog, I don't want you to take this the wrong way. I'm just telling you what I know and what I've seen. And I think you probably would agree with me that Luis Arraez is an outstanding hitter. He's an outstanding hitter. Probably needs to work the count a little bit better next year than he did this year. And that may take some points off his batting average because he's an aggressive hitter, which I don't really have much of a problem with. The problem I have with Arraez is he kind of is a one-dimensional guy. I mean, he's a good hitter, not a power hitter, not a base stealing threat, not a great defender, but he's a good hitter. I mean, you don't win one batting title, let alone 3 batting titles, by not being a good hitter. And what he has done has been pretty amazing. Also, what he's done is pretty amazing. And it's also amazing that he's gotten traded. He's done it with 3 different teams: Minnesota, Miami, and now the Padres. And maybe the Padres are going to trade him. I mean, he's not a good second baseman. We know that. And if he is here in San Diego, he's not going to play second base. Cronenworth's going to be second baseman. He's going to be a first baseman, and I think he's improving there. I mean, if you stick him there and you work and work and work, he'll be more than adequate at first base. But he's not a good second baseman. But I thought he made some improvements last year when he was playing there consistently, and I can only imagine getting to spring training, working on it. If he wants to become a better first baseman, he can, and he already has. But he needs to, I think, if he's going to hit at the top of the order, and I presume if he was back, he would be the Padres' leadoff hitter. He's got to work the count and got to drive that on-base percentage up to where his career is, which is, I think, about 344, if I'm not mistaken. It was a little bit down this last year. But also, you'd like him to hit for more power. And you know what? I bet he will hit for more power once that thumb heals. He had thumb surgery. He played the last 3 months with an injured thumb. He had a ligament damage in there. So he's going to hit with more power. But he's not Tony Gwynn, like I said the other day. He's not Tony Gwynn. We don't need any more articles or any more ill-informed talk show hosts comparing him to Tony Gwynn. Okay? That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But at some point in time, who's going to go? I got to believe Cease is going somewhere. I think there's going to be a team out there that will pay very well for Dylan Cease. Now, as far as Luis Arraez, I'm not sure how much you're going to get for him in return. And quite frankly, I'd like to see the Padres keep him. He's a young player. He's not old. You know what? Have him and Fernando hit the top of the lineup. And again, I know a lot of people will argue this, but I like Fernando at the top of the lineup. I like him leading off. And maybe at some point in time in 2025, he will be the leadoff hitter. I mean, if they trade Arraez, I would think he would be the leadoff hitter. But when Fernando leads off, his numbers are really good. And I also think he plays with that boyish enthusiasm when he's the leadoff hitter. He seems to play with a lot more energy for me. That's me. I don't know what you think about that. Write your comments in there. Now, as far as Jerks and Profar, I'm not hearing anything. I have no idea what's going on with Profar right now. None whatsoever. A week ago at the winter meetings, they were talking about, maybe the New York Yankees had pulled the trigger. They don't need him now. The other thing with the Yankees, they can move now. They can move big Aaron Judge over to right field. And they can put Bellinger right there in center field. Well, they got a whole lot better yesterday than New York Yankees. Yankees are having a hell of an offseason. Even though they didn't get Juan Soto, they're having a hell of an offseason. Bellinger can flat out run. I mean, he can get a lot of things done there. There's no question about that. As far as catcher, I think the only way the Padres get a frontline catcher is by making a trade. And who that's with, I have no idea. Because catching right now at the big league level, in my opinion, is at an all-time low. Guys getting down on that one knee to try to pick up the low strike. It doesn't happen you're not going to fool good umpires on that. And guys get locked in. They can't block balls. Guys can't throw. You got the situation with guys wanting to steal more now because you can only go over 2 times. The third time you don't get them, it's a balk. So Padres got to figure out what they're doing behind the plate. I'm not writing off Luis Camposano, but how many more springs are we going to be talking about Luis Camposano being the starting catcher for the San Diego Padres? He had the job last year when he got hurt, and then he came back, couldn't get the job done, and ended up in AAA. Now he's playing winter ball. So, we'll see on that. Before I get out of here, I'm going to talk about the Chargers today. But right now, we're going to go out and talk with a young guy that's doing a heck of a job. He was a former All-CIF basketball player at Torrey Pines High School. Real good player. Went to USD, performed down there, came back to Torrey Pines, assistant basketball coach and tournament chairman for the 34th annual Torrey Pines Holiday Classic. Mr. Jake Gilliam joins me on the John Quintero Show. Mr. Gilliam, good morning. How are you?
Coach, good to hear you. I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I got to tell you, this when you look at the long laundry list of players that have played in this tournament, it's really amazing. I was looking, Drew Holiday and Russell Westbrook and Klay Thompson and Banchero's played in this tournament. I think Jerry Stackhouse played in this tournament once upon a time. And this tournament's going as big as ever. And it started back in 1990, Jake. And tell us a little bit about the teams coming in. How many teams, how many divisions this year?
Yeah, first of all, the tournament is super good basketball. And, when I was a kid growing up in this area, I remember going to the tournament and watching, guys like Kyrie Irving at the Patrick School in New York and, Alonzo Ball and Chino Hills came here. And, way back in the day, Coach, before I was around, Stephon Marbury put on an all-time legendary performance that is still talked about. So there's been no shortage of all-stars in the past, and this year is going to be no different. We have 79 teams coming. We're hosting the tournament at 4 different sites. The national bracket's played primarily at Torrey Pines, and one thing we're really proud of with that national bracket is it's a true national tournament. We have 9 different states represented in the national field from 13 different sections. So there are a whole bunch of teams that are coming off championships and looking to win section championships again. My guess is when it's all said and done, and in March, a lot of these teams will end up raising banners and having championship seasons back where they came from. And so that's something that is cool for the local fans to get to see national talent here in San Diego, Torrey Pines High School.
Yeah, you mentioned Stephon Marbury. I was at that game the night that they matched up against Mater Dei. Young Shea Cotton went for 38 points for Mater Dei. Stephon Marbury, I believe, went for 38 points. Mater Dei ended up winning the game in an absolute thriller. You couldn't get into Torrey Pines with a shoehorn that night for that championship game. And I remember that very well because after the game, Shea Cotton and his mom and dad got in their car and didn't head for Orange County. They headed to San Diego to join me on my high school sports show that night.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I know you called the very first Holiday Classic, and it's been 30 years of great basketball in San Diego, and we're just so fortunate to have that. There are stories like that from a whole bunch of different people. And, when I played at USD, one of the coaches on the staff, Terrence Rencher, actually played for St. Raymond's in one of the very first tournaments. And, I've coached travel ball, and, we'll be in Georgia or Texas or New York or somewhere like that, and you see people walking around with the Holiday Classic t-shirt on, and that's always cool to see that, it's a national brand and that fans in San Diego, like I said, get to see, stars before they're stars. And, with the whole social media thing and TikTok and Instagram and Twitter, people have access to these kids more than ever, and people know the talent that's in town and local. And so it's cool that, some of the kids locally get to see players that are their own age that they get to look up to and see them perform against some other very, very talented ball players.
Jake, let's talk a little bit about, and I want to get into some individual players here in a minute, but I want to get the dates out for everybody and how they can get tickets, and something that you and Coach Olive and Griffin Jimenez up at Torrey started a year ago. I think it was last year you started it, and it's going to go again this year, this coming Monday. Prior to the tournament, you have a tip-off night, and it really, I mean, I was looking at the teams last night. 8 teams, all from San Diego, and right now, as we speak, 7 of the 8 are in the top 10 in San Diego. I know Rancho Buena Vista's gotten off to a little bit of a slow start because they've had some injuries, but they're playing. But Monday night's going to be a really fun night, I think, for San Diego basketball fans, because they can see 8 of the premier teams this year in San Diego all on one night.
Yeah, this tip-off night is really cool. So, well, first of all, let's get the dates out for the whole tournament so everyone can hear that. So the tournament is 4 dates. It's 12/26, which is a Thursday, Friday 12/27, Saturday 12/28, and the championship game and the final day will come back on the 30th and finish. We take Sundays off per the CIF rules. So that's the tournament date, and all this information with dates, locations, how to get tickets are all on our website, theholidayclassic.org. And we're doing online tickets this year only. So you can't show up with cash at the door, unfortunately. It's all online tickets, and this will allow us to know who's coming and make sure that we've got room for everyone who buys a ticket. And you can purchase tickets ahead of time, and if you want to get a deal, you get a little bit of a discount if you purchase the full tournament pass. So that's available on our website, theholidayclassic.org, for the online tickets. Then in terms of that tip-off night, we've done it in the past where the tournament was 5 days in a row and we didn't have the Sunday off day. And the last couple of years, like you said, we've decided to do it even before Christmas. So yeah, 12/23, we get an opportunity to get some of the best players in town playing. And so we're Torrey Pines. We'll start off at 4 o'clock against San Marcos. And, we've already started breaking down film on San Marcos. This is a fantastic ball club. And, they've got some young players who are going to be around this year, next year, and even the year to follow. Jalen Williams for them is a junior. He's averaging about 20 a game. He can score at all 3 levels. Great athlete, good ball handler. And Coach, you'd like it. He shoots the 3, but he'll also turn and post up and score in the post. And he's a true 3-level scorer. They've got another guard, Richie Ramirez, who is off to a great start, who's only a sophomore, and he's a throwback physical guard. And, we've got a couple of guys that are off to great starts too. Junior Tavares Green's averaging 20 points a game. And, our senior stalwart, Cody Shen, who's on his 4th year playing for Coach Olive with us. He's our point guard, and he's steady Eddie, man. He's scoring 17 points a night, shooting the 3 well, and he's got an 8-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio, which we're really blessed to have that. And then Mission Bay plays against Rancho Buena Vista. And like you said, RBV had a bit of a slow start. They had a couple injuries, but they're starting to play good ball right now. And they've got a guard, CJ Aldrich, who was just named all-tournament team up at a tournament in Orange County. And this young man can put the ball in the cup, man. Again, another 3-level scorer. He's got multiple Division I offers, including UCSD, who had a great win last night. I'm sure you were watching that one. And they play Mission Bay, who's got a really good – Marshawn Cherry does a great job, and he's got athletes all over the place. They're led by Caleb Newton, but, they won the CIF Division I championship last year, and they've got a ball club who can compete for an Open Division championship again. Then La Jolla Country Day and Carlsbad will play at 7. And Country Day's got a point guard, Chris Carrillo, who was all CIF last year. And he's really a great point guard who controls the game, shoots it well. And Wyatt Tilson for them is playing in the post and shooting the 3, and he's off to a great start. And they played a challenging schedule so far. They were able to beat Saints early on. They've already played Cathedral. They played San Marcos. They've gone up and played Temecula Valley a couple times. So they've really played a challenging schedule. And then Carlsbad, led by Coach Allard, who was one of the assistant coaches here at Torrey when I played. They've got a great ball club. And, they won the national bracket last year. They were the first local team to win it since 2016. And Jay Call was CIF Player of the Year. He's scoring 29 points a game, and he's up to 2,364 career points, and he's going to put a shot at Troy Leaf's CIF scoring record, which is really just remarkable. And this kid can score from anywhere. And, we used to say, like, he's got in the gym range, man. The second he walks in the gym, he could score, and he's going to put on a show. And then and he's not just a great scorer, man. He's an all-around ball player, just a winner. And then at 8:30, Temecula Valley. They're from out of town, but they're led by James Profit, who played locally, and we've adopted them as a San Diego team. They play at 8:30, and James's son, Jeremiah, is their best player. He's a top 25 sophomore in the country. I actually got a chance to coach him during the summer, and man, can he play. I mean, he's one of those guys where you look at him and he's got all the goods, and he's getting better and better, and he's getting better on the glass, and he can score it, get up above the rim and dunk. I mean, he's a terrific player, and they've got it just an all-around solid, exciting team. They're going to get up and down the floor, play fast, and that'll be one that fans love to see, with dunks and threes and running the floor and physicality. Then they'll play Montgomery, and the Sanchez twins obviously do a great job. But, Montgomery's a team, man, that just plays ball. It's so physical and shares it. And it's game planning and preparing for them is so challenging because they just know each other's strengths so well and know each other's tendencies. And they are off to a great start in San Diego. So hopefully those 4 games at 4, 5:30, 7, and 8:30 will be exciting and be something for fans to cheer on and kind of hang out throughout the evening.
Jake, what are the number of teams this year coming to the tournament?
We have 79 teams coming, spread across 5 brackets. So the Nationals at Torrey Pines High School, then the American division is played primarily at St. Augustine. And, real quick note on that, our national division is so good this year that the American is playing like some of our national brackets in the past. We've got 5 states represented, 11 different sections. There are college players on every team. 4 San Diego's top 10 are in there. So that's the American bracket. We've got the Senators bracket up at Rancho Buena Vista with, again, top 50 teams in the state. There's a top 250 team in the country in there. So that's a loaded bracket. And then Carlsbad will host the governors and the mayor's brackets.
All right. Before I let you get out of here, again, I want you to throw out the dates and throw out how people can get tickets for not only the Monday night tip-off, but once the regular tournament gets underway, the day after Christmas, the 26th.
Yeah, so the website, theholidayclassic.org, is the best place to find out any information. You can see the brackets, those players to watch that I started to mention, and that's where you can get tickets to, and it's online tickets only. So the 23rd, you can buy an online ticket for that. Then for the 26th, 27th, 28th, and 30, you can buy solo single-day tickets. Or what you could do is you could also buy an all-tournament pass for all 4 of those days. It'll get you in at any site. And one thing that, just so everyone knows, if you buy a ticket on this, you can get in at every site. So you'll show up, they'll scan your online ticket, you'll get a band that will allow you to go to every site.
So if I buy a ticket on the 26th, I want to watch a game at Torrey Pines in the morning, I want to go to Carlsbad in the evening, that ticket's good for that day.
Yes, sir.
All right. Sounds great. Well, hey, hope to see you at some point. The tournament is fantastic. And the other thing that's fun about the tournament isn't just watching on the floor. It's also kind of fun to see what coaches show up to watch these games.
Yeah, it's cool. There are college basketball coaches from all over the country that come. I mean, Coach Dutcher and his staff are always here. Coach Olin and his staff at UCSD always show up. The Point Loma Nazarene coaches are always here. And it's really cool that some of the local schools come out and watch these guys play. But we get national coaches too. I mean, we've had UCLA, we've had East Coast schools. My friend Curtis Wilson from Boston University always comes out and watches. And, there are kids committed to Bama. And we've got a kid committed to Southern Methodist who's playing for St. Francis Episcopal. And we've got kids with offers from Florida and Creighton coming. So there will be college coaches from every level here to watch these young men play and compete.
That's a lot of fun. Hey, thanks for taking time today, Jake. Always great to catch up with you, and hope to see you in the arena here real soon.
Yep, Coach. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. There you go. Jake Gilliam. A marvelous young guy, and I'll tell you what, he has developed into being one hell of a basketball coach, working with John Olive. And John, of course, played for the San Diego Clippers, All-American out of Villanova, been at my alma mater coaching for a long time. But Jake Gilliam doing a great job, had a great high school basketball career, played a couple of years at USD, and now teaching and coaching at Torrey Pines and acting as the tournament chairman for the 34th annual Torrey Pines Holiday Classic. Wanted to get that on. I've always had someone on to promote that on radio, so I figured I would do that as well on our YouTube page. Okay, before we get out of here, and if we got any questions, we'll answer a few of the questions, but I want to get to the Chargers because tomorrow night, the Chargers play a very, very important game. They're a game back right now in the standings in the AFC West. I think they're gonna make the playoffs because there's some really dog breath teams. Some really dog breath teams in the AFC this year. But they need a win. Okay. But again, I'm gonna bring this up. And I read the paper today. I was expecting to read about UCSD winning, but we got all kinds of Charger stuff on the front page today. The Union Tribune. And I know they probably had an early deadline and so on and so forth, but UCSD was like on page 3. But tomorrow night at SoFi Stadium, 5:15, the Denver Broncos 9-5, taking on the LA Chargers 8-6. Now here's the deal: if they finish in a tie and the Chargers win tomorrow night, let's say the Chargers win tomorrow night and they finish in a tie at the end of the year in the AFC West, the Chargers would get the tiebreaker. So they need to win tomorrow night. They desperately need to win tomorrow night because their final 2 games are against an awful New England team and an even worse Raiders team. I'm waiting for Antonio Pierce to get fired. I know they play hard, but I'm not real sold on Antonio Pierce as a head coach. But the Chargers, I've been saying this all year long, and I really believe it. I don't know how good they really are. And what I mean by that, they haven't beaten anybody that's any good. The best team they've beaten all year is the Denver Broncos. And the Broncos weren't very good early in the year, but they're 9-5 now. But listen to this. These are the Charger wins. I mean, most of these teams are going to be in the top 7 or 8 in the draft this year. They're so bad. They beat the Raiders. Raiders are 2-12. Carolina they beat. They're 3-11. I mentioned Denver 9-5. Oh man, they beat the powerful New Orleans Saints. They're 5-9. Then they beat up on the outstanding Cleveland Browns that are 3-11. Then they beat the Tennessee Titans who are 3-11. They beat the Cincinnati Bengals who are 6-8, and they beat the 7-7 Atlanta Falcons. Those are their wins this year. By the way, Atlanta moved out Kirk Cousins, their starting quarterback, yesterday. They're going to go with the freshman, rookie, Michael Penix out of Washington. Their losses this year are to good teams. They lose to the 10-4 Pittsburgh Steelers at Pittsburgh. They lose at home 17-10 to the 13-1 Kansas City Chiefs. They lose on the road at Arizona 17-15 to the 7-7 Arizona Cardinals. They lose at home to the Baltimore Ravens, who are 9-5, 30-23. They lose again at Kansas City, 19-17 on that ball that hit the upright and went through on the final play of the game. Ball didn't bounce the Chargers' way. That would have been a huge win, but they didn't get it. And then they lose at home and they get pummeled in the second half by Tampa Bay, 40-17, and Tampa Bay 8-6. Other than Denver, the Chargers haven't beaten anybody with over a 500 record. And the only team that they've beaten that has a 500 record, aside from their win over Denver, who's 9-5, is Atlanta, who's 7-7 now in the year, and making a quarterback change. They haven't beaten anybody any good. How good is this team? How good are the Chargers? Do you think they're going to win on Thursday night? I don't think they're going to win. You know why? They can't stop the run. They get run over like a pancake. They can't stop the run. So I had to get that in. Okay, we're going to get out of here. And again, if you would, please subscribe to the program. Like the program. Send me your comments. Whether you send the comments at the bottom of our YouTube page or on my Facebook or on X where we put the show up, just to throw them out there. Oh, hey, we got to get to one here before we get out of here. Arraez, Kevin and Chulovis, I predict Padre ownership will sell in 2029 or 2030 if the new CBA does not fairly address the revenue disparity issues. Conditions have drastically changed since Seidler's bought the club. I'm not sure it'll be 2029 or 2030. I think they may sell earlier than that. That's what I think. There's not going to be revenue sharing, folks. It's just not going to happen in baseball. unless they were able to break the union. And I don't see that happening. Tony Clark and all the powers to be, the Major League Baseball Players Association, I don't see that happening. I really don't. And we're about halfway through right now the current contract. Man, how about getting a long-term contract so we don't have to go through this every 4 or 5 years? Andrew Quinn, hey coach, bummer with all the WSU guys hitting the portal and Coach Dickert leaving. Nice chance to see San Diego guy Josh Meredith get targets in Holiday Bowl. Bryant transfer quarterback Zevi Ekos will start. Well, we'll find out. Andrew Quinn, I know that name. Andrew Quinn was a student at St. Augustine, went to Gonzaga, and doing some wonderful things in the media. Andrew, hope to see you soon. I'm actually going down to St. Augustine. Not that you'll be there, but I'm going down there on January 7th to talk to Coach Tom Isaac's class. Tom Isaac is the golf coach down there at St. Augustine. They have intercession and they have a sports media class that runs for about 6 weeks. And I'm invited every year to speak to the class, and I'll look forward to that. Showtime LA. Hey, Coach, Dodger fan here. Hope we get Dodgers Padres rematch in the playoffs. It's great for baseball. Love the show. Showtime LA. Thank you very much. Very much appreciate that. I would like it. Being a Padre fan, I'd like to see a little bit better outcome. I'd like to see the Padres close the series out. Dodgers are going to be tough. They've had a big offseason. I mean, just re-signing the guys that re-signed. And Dave Roberts said the other day he thinks they're going to re-sign Teoscar Hernandez. They get Teoscar Hernandez, and then they'll get Kike Hernandez back. He wants to come back. I got to believe they'll find a spot for him on the roster. That would be a great play. It would be good for baseball. All right, Rome, Merry Christmas and an impending Happy New Year with health and blessings to you, our coach. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I will always take that and right back at you. Rome, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. And again, we're going to have another show on Friday. And then next week, just to kind of let you know where we're going with the show, we'll have a show on Friday. And then on Monday, we will have a show. And then we won't have another show until after Christmas the following Monday. And then once we get back to the new year, we'll get back to our 3-day-a-week show at 9:30. Okay, again, thank you very much for listening. I always enjoy visiting with you. Thanks to Jake Gilliam coming on and talking about the Torrey Pines Holiday Classic. If you love high school basketball or just love basketball, go out there and see some dynamite players. Again, they've got the tip-off Classic on Monday, December 26th, or excuse me, the 23rd, and then the Holiday Classic gets underway on the 26th, 27th, 28th, off on Sunday, and the finals on Monday night, December 30th. So, again, we'll be back in on Friday at 9:30. Until then, Coach John Quintero, have a great day, everyone, and we'll recap that Charger game, see how they do against the Denver Broncos on Thursday night, and we'll have more Padre information for you as well. Take care. Bye-bye.